Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Rabbi Isai, we're holding all the way on the bottom of Zayin Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Got it? One of the examples is on Yom Kippur, the Kohen takes the blood of a chatas and he sprinkles it 7 times on the floor. A whole different procedure, a little bit on the Mizbech, a little bit here. And we say, on Yom Kippur, we say, achas, that's the sprinkling of the blood. Can he receive that blood of the chatas in 2 different vessels? So Rebbe Lazar is of the opinion that if he receives, let's say, 4 drops worth in one vessel and 3 in the other, no good. Says the Gemara, Umi Omar Rebbe Lazar Hachi, did he really say so? It's amazing, it's beautiful. First of all, very easy daf, a flowing daf, a lot of geschmacky stuff. I love this stuff. It's all about, when Mashiach comes and the Kohen Gadol and the Beis Hamikdash and different things that we're not very familiar with. And one of them is, did you know that a Kohen Gadol brings a mincha twice a day? Every day, he has to bring a flowery gift to Hashem. And he has to bring the flour from his home, and he puts it in a vessel, and he sarain, and he divides it. Half in the morning, half in the evening. This machvas, this minchas machvas, it's called. You can't sanctify it. You can't make it kadosh half and half. You're going to be using half in the morning and half in the afternoon. So you think, okay, so I'll make half kaddish right now. What does it mean kaddish? When I bring a bag of flour, like I have sitting over there, I used the flour yesterday. Bring a bag of flour from your home. You bought it in Costco. It has no kedusha. But as soon as you put it, now I could say that I want to make a minchas machvas out of it. So then it will change it'll become kaddish lebedek habayis. But I want to elevate the kedusha. I want to make it really kaddish. So I put it into the vessel. I have a gold bowl. I pour it in. Whatever hits the gold bowl becomes kaddish. I need to pour the entire isarin into that vessel, and I cannot do half and half. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. Lazar Omar, no, he argues. Look, I'm going to put on the mizbeach a half. Says Rebbe Lazar, since it's brought at 2 different times, you can make a kaddish at 2 different times. Daf ches amar aleph. V'misa, and if it's true that you, Rebbe Lazar, hold that you cannot collect the blood that you're going to be sprinkling on Yom Kippur on the floor or whatever in 2 different vessels, leilav midam. Why did you, Rebbe Lazar, say that it's okay to put all the flour in 2 different vessels? Let's learn from the blood that you cannot. If Rebbe Lazar holds that you cannot put blood in 2 different vessels, it has to be in one vessel, so you should learn from there the idea by flour as well. We should learn flour from blood. So that's interesting. We're going to have this concept 3 times on the daf, on this Amud even, and I believe it's only a concept in Kachim. There's certain things that are unique to the Seder Kachim, and this is one of them. That perhaps you don't learn one thing from the other thing. Because throughout the Torah you learn one thing from the other. Over here, no, maybe don't learn one from the other. But I'll prove to you that he does learn one thing from another. That is, that's the heichal, the red dots. And the blue dots is where you're supposed to do the kmitza. You're supposed to take the flour, the Kohen goes like this, grabs 3 fingers worth, puts it in another vessel, etc. That's supposed to be done in the Chazarah. What if he didn't do it in the Chazarah? He went into a holier place called the Heichal. So it's okay. Why? We're going to go back to this one. This is the Shulchan, also from my very talented artist, Shlomo. Well, it's a combination. We have actually 3 people working on this. So on the Shulchan, you have 12 breads, lechem apanim, and 2 spoonfuls of frankincense, of levina. The way it works is that when you take the levina, you take the 2 spoons and you put them on the mizbeach, then that allows the kohanim to eat the 12 breads. Before you put the levina on the mizbech, you cannot eat the breads. The levina is a matter, it's a machshir. It allows you to eat the breads. So, mincha shekamatz b'eichel ksher, shekamatzinu b'silg b'zichen. The kmitza action is very similar to the bezichen. There's a similarity. The kmitza is what allows you to eat the rest of the bowl of flour by you taking the kmitza, putting it on the mizbech. So to the bezichen. Where do you do bezichen? Where does this take? This whole video, where did it take place? Let's see. This. Where's this? Where's the shulchan? The shulchan is placed in the heichal. That's where the shulchan is. In the heichal we have the menorah, we have the shulchan, and we have the mizbech haktoros. Anything else that I missed out? I don't know. So it's in the heichal. So you see that you're allowed to take bezichen from the heichal, so you can do a kmitz in the heichal. So what do you see? You see that Rebbe Elazar learns a mincha, the kmitza, from the lechem hapanim. Says the Gemara, mincha memincha yalav. That's not fair. You're learning a kmitza from lechem hapanim. But guess what? Lechem hapanim is also a sort of mincha. It's a bread. It's a flourly. Is that a word? It comes from flour. So it's like a mincha. But mincha midam li yalav. I don't want to learn mincha from blood. So just like blood you can't receive in two vessels, so too the chavitin you can't accept in two vessels, you can't learn it. Says Gemara, mincha memincha miyalev. Does Rebbe Elazar really learn mincha from a mincha? Vatanya ashalei perka nifras lachma. If before they removed the two bezichen, we don't have it, but here I just like the picture of the bezichen. And so I'm going to go to the end of this video if I can. It's not letting me. Okay. So again, you take the 2 spoons, you put it on the mizbeach. What happens if before you were able to put it on the mizbeach, somebody took a loaf of bread and broke it in half? Now, what happens typically when you break something in half, a loaf of bread? You're going to have, different crumbs fall to the floor. You're going to be missing part of the bread. That's a very big problem because anytime you have missing from the actual mincha or from the lechem hapanim, it causes a lot of problems. So here's the halacha. Actually, pirko nifras lachma. If before you were able to remove the 2 spoonfuls, there was already some of the bread missing, halechem pasol ve'ein makter elav bezichen. You have a major issue. You can't do anything with the bread. You can't eat the bread, and you can't even put the bezichen, the levina, on the mizbeach. However, mishapirka, once the kohanim removed, we saw yesterday, we had a video of 8 kohanim. Remember, 4 bring the new breads and the new bezichen, 4 remove the old. So when the kohanim remove the old, the bezichen, once they remove it, and then the kohen grabs a loaf of bread and cracks it in half, mishapirka nifras lachma. But if that happened afterwards, halechem pasol, so you can't eat from the bread because some of it is missing. However, once you remove the bezichen already, you can put it on the mizbeach. Comes Rebbe Elazar, he says, "Lo pirka mamish." Doesn't mean that you took the bezichen off the table. It just means that it's the time that you can remove the bezichen, which is the 6th hour of the day. At that point, even if you didn't take it off, it's as if you took it off. You hear what's going on here? You don't have to physically take it off. You have to just be at the right time. So, v'amai, says Gemara, if Rebbe Elazar learns one mincha from the other, so you basically can learn the regular mincha from the lechem hapanim, and vice versa. So let's consider this a mincha that was missing a little bit of any mincha that's missing some of the flour. That's it. You can't do anything with it. So over here also, it's missing a little bit of the lechem hapanim, some of the bread, right? Somebody took a loaf of bread, he breaks the bread in half. We said, oh, it's okay, because if the bezichen, it's the 6 hours in the day, the bezichen anyways have to go on the mizbeach. But time out. Part of the bread is missing. If part of the bread is missing, you can't bring bezichen, you can't do anything. Says Gemara, no. Holy kash, if you want to compare, I want to show you that Rebbe Elazar holds that we cannot compare lechem hapanim to a regular mincha. No. But my, so holy kash, mincha lebar breira kaimitz dida. When you have a bowl of flour, nobody knows where the kmitza is. You didn't do the kmitza yet. V'ha bar breira kaimitz dida. But by lechem hapanim, we know straight out what what the kmitza is, so to speak. The 2 spoonfuls, they're sitting right in front of you. So it's different than a mincha, where you don't know what the kmitza is. And therefore, as long as the time came, it's 6 hours in, and I know exactly what the kmitza is, so I don't really have to put it on the mizbeach. And even though some of the bread goes missing, I could continue putting it on the mizbeach. Now, if some of the lechem hapanim is missing, after the bezichin were taken off the shulchan, we said it's okay, just continue bringing the bezichin onto the mizbeach. You can't eat the bread, but continue with the bezichin. As Gemara, why? There is one opinion that says that if you do the kmitza and you're bringing it towards the mizbeach, and then some of the flour in the bowl went missing, you don't put the kaimetz onto the mizbeach because some of the flour is missing. Says Gemara, so over here also by the lechem hapanim, how could you continue bringing the bezichin onto the mizbeach? Says Gemara, it's a machlokes. He holds like the other opinion that if some of the flour goes missing, you could put the kmitz on the mizbeach. So too, if some of the lechem hapanim goes missing, I'll put the bezichin on the mizbeach. Gufa, chavid kain gadol. These chavidim that we saw that kain gadol brings every day. We saw before the machlokes. That's how we start off the share. Rabbi Yochanan holds that you have to put all the flour into one vessel and make it kaddish at one time. Rabbi Elazar argues, since anyway he's going to be makriv half and half, so you can make it kaddish half-half. Let's just go into the reasoning here of Rabbi Yochanan on Makra, mincha machtzisa, because he learns it from a pasuk. The mincha, half of it. In other words, first it should be a mincha, period. When you have the whole thing, then machatzisa, then you chop it in half. Meisvei, but I have a big problem. It says mefurish that you should not bring it half and half. We should bring a whole yisaron, which is the measurement, and then cut it in half. If it would say mincha machzis, I wouldn't know this. But since it says mincha machatzis, I do know why. Because if it would say machzis, maybe chatzis, or maybe shachris, or makriv, chatzis, or maybe arvis, or makriv. He should bring a half a bag of flour in the morning, half a bag of flour, and then go back home and bring another half. He should bring the whole thing together from his house and then cut it in half. So what's the question? The question is, how does Rabbi Elazar say that it could be mekadesh? He could sanctify half and then another half. It says mefurish over here, you have to bring the whole thing. That's how you do it. Says the Gemara, one word, lemitzvah. This that it says that you should bring the whole thing in one shot, it means it's the better way to do it. It's the more lechatchila way to do it. If you want to get the most out of the mitzvah, you bring the bag of flour and you mekadesh it in one shot. However, if you didn't do it like that, you did it half and half, you're also yaitza, like Rabbi Elazar. If you look at the pasuk, here's the pasuk. It says, so chak means, like we know, chukah. So it's chukah satar by paraduma, chukah. It's a rule. You don't ask questions, and there's no way around it. Anytime the Torah says chak, so it's a chukah, that's it. Over here it says chak olam. So therefore, and we just said, it says mincha machatzisa, you should bring the entire thing and then cut it in half. So how could you tell me, oh, it's in the first place, that's how you should do it. But if the Eved, you went and you cut it in half, it's okay. It's not okay. It's chukah. You have to do it only one way. This pasuk, which is a chayk, means when you bring it from your house to the Beis Hamikdash, it should be whole. It should be one part, one piece. So this morning when I gave shir in Hebrew, I'm like, why? Who cares? You bring what does the Torah care how you bring the flour from your house, from your pantry? So the art scroll brings the Chazanish. I looked it up now, right before shir, and he says, the Chazanish says, what it means to, it's beautiful now. What he means to say is that you should sanctify b'kedushas damim. You should at least make a kaddish in one shot, the lower level of kedusha. Then, when you want to make it kaddish, like what's the word? Not kache bedekabayis, kache. Kodesh Kodashim, basically. You want to make it the highest level. That's not the right way to say it. I'm missing the word, but the highest level of Kedusha, that you could already separate half and half. But when you're bringing it to begin with, it doesn't mean bringing it in the Uber to the base of it. It means when you're sanctifying, when you're making the first level of Kedusha, it shall all be in one shot, and that's what the Torah is telling you. Don't break that up. The Rabbi Yochanan really say that when it comes to Minchas Chavitin, and that was the first line of the Gemara that we learned, that when the Kohen Gadol brings his Minchas Chavitim, he can't break it up into two. It has to be in one piece. It says, if, and this is referring to Rabbi Isai, very important, this is referring to a regular Mincha, not a Minchas Chavitin, a regular Mincha. A person wants to bring a Minchas Nadava, he wants to bring a gift to Hashem. So he brings a bag of flour to the Beis Hamikdash, and he brought a half a Yisarin, and he had in mind and he had intent, and this is also, Yiddishkeit is all in the mind. He had in mind to add. Rav Omar Ein Kaddish, he didn't bring the full Yisarin, he brought half, so it's not Kaddish. Let's remember this, Rav. Rav says it's not Kaddish. Rabbi Yochanan Omar Kaddish, it is good. If Rabbi Yochanan holds that the Kohen Gadol has to do everything in one shot, how come he doesn't learn the regular mincha from the Kohen Gadol? They have to do everything in one shot. How come over here, when it comes to a private person, you can bring it in two pieces? Once again, we're going to that Yisod that we saw all the way in the top of Chesam and Aleph, 2 lines from the top. This idea of I can't learn one thing from the other, which is puzzling because throughout the Torah you barely ever see this idea in Shas. Don't learn one thing from. What do you mean? Don't learn one thing from the other? That's the whole Gemara. We're learning one thing from the other. But anyway, in Kachim, we don't learn one thing from the other. Maybe what are you asking me? Learn from Kohen Gadol that you cannot divide it, and by a regular mincha you also can't divide it. Maybe I don't learn a regular mincha from Chavitin. Check this out. Once again, this is a chart that we used before. We're going to use it again. Where do you shecht shlamim? Now, shlamim is part of the category of kachim kalim, the lighter category. So, lighter category, you could shecht it in the north and the south part of the Chazarah. In other words, in the entire blue square. What happens? He took it into the heichal, reserved for special occasions, for the Ketores every day, for the Menorah every day, for the Lechem Apanim on Shabbos. He goes and brings it, bloody up the Heichal inside. Kosher or not kosher? Ksherim. It is kosher. And he uses logic. It says he should shecht it at the entrance to the Heichal. Whoa, this blue dotted line is not as kaddish as the red. What's all the way at the end of the red, Rabbi say? All the way at the end. Kodesh Kodashim. So it's like you go from the Chazarah, very holy, you go into the Heichal, holy, holy, and you go into Kodesh Kodashim, the holiest of the holy. So if so many people want to say that even if you shecht in Kodesh HaKodashim, it's kosher, because like the Kavachomer. If it's kosher in the Chazarah, certainly in the Heichal. I'm learning one area from another area. If it's good in area blue, it's also good in area red. So that's learning one thing from another. You just told me you don't learn one from another. So you know why over here, when a person has a mind to bring another half a bag of flour from his house to add to his mincha, it's okay? Because he had a mind to do it. It's not that he's adding another. While he had the first half, he said, I'm going to have another half. So that's as if he had the whole thing. So it actually becomes Kaddish even before he added it. Just the thought alone is enough to make it okay. The Sanya Milayim, famous pasuk, right? Say, Shivim shekel b'shekel HaKodesh Neyem Milayim. We all know the psukim, yeah? That the vessel of flour has to be completely full. I once heard a pshat. I have no idea who said it. But he said, how come this vessel that we fill the flour in, he did a whole calculation, that it's worth about close to $10,000 in today's value. What about the flour inside the vessel? The 50 cents. Yet the Torah says Isara and it's like very Milayim, full. It's a whole thing. He said, you know why? Because money is really just a way to get to the mitzvah. The whole thing is just to show you. Yeah, you have to spend $10,000, but at the end of the day, it's for what? For the mitzvah that's only $1. Akopanim, it says over here, Milayim, a Milayim el Shleimim. It has to be whole. Now, if you look in the Gemara, there's parentheses, Koloimar, Shene Kodesh at Shiyeh Sarin Shalim. Anybody that learns Gemara knows that this is not Gemara language. This is like literally like, I don't even know if Rishon wrote this. And that's why there's so many of these parentheses all over Menachos, and the Shittim Kubetzis takes them all out. Rabbi Yosi, a Masai Bizman Shein Daiti Lahaisif. Bizman Shein Daiti Lahaisif, Rishon, Kadosh. When do you need a full vessel all the way to the top of flour? When you don't have intent to fill it up. But let's say your bag ran out. Yeah? You had a half a bag of flour and it went up to here. So you went to the closet in the Beis HaMikdash to bring in more flour. So it's Kadosh. As you put in the first part, Kadosh. Second part, Kadosh. You don't have to wait to the second part. Why? Because you have intent to fill it up. Yivaldim. Rishon Kadosh. As you put it in, it becomes Kadosh. V'rav b'chavitin kiman tzvirlei. Now remember, like just 7 lines up, Rav says that by a regular mincha, not by the mincha of the Kohen Gadol, by a regular mincha, Mr. Yisrael comes to the Beis HaMikdash with a half a pound of flour. They say, Rabbi Yid, it's not enough. You have to go home and bring more. So he goes home and brings more. Is that okay or not? Was it Kaddish, the first half that he put into the klishars? Does it become Kaddish or not? So Rav says no, not Kaddish. What does Rav hold when it comes to the Kohen Gadol? When the Kohen Gadol takes his chavitin and breaks it in half, he pours half the flour for the morning, and then he pours half the flour for the afternoon. Is that Kaddish or not? Is it the same thing as a regular mincha? Says the Gemara, who does he hold? Ikar Blazer, he holds that half and half is good. He just holds that by a regular mincha, it's not good. How come he doesn't hold that you learn a regular mincha from the Kohen Gadol's mincha, that half and half is good? If this is the third time we're seeing this, maybe you'll say, I don't learn a regular mincha from the Kohen Gadol's mincha. I could take flour, put it into a vessel, and it becomes kaddish, even though I didn't add the oil yet, even though it needs oil. Because that's how I found by the breads. The breads in the lechem apanim bread in the heichal, they don't have oil. What about b'lei levayna, without the frankincense? It would become kaddish without the frankincense. Why? Because that's what I see by a carbon that you have to bring a mincha with the carbon. It works. B'lei shemen or b'lei levayna. What if it doesn't have oil and frankincense? It just has flour. It also becomes kaddish. You see that Rav does learn one thing from the other. So if Rav would learn one from the other, and he holds by a Kohen Gadol's mincha, that you could split it in half, so you should hold the same thing by regular mincha. You can split it in half, you can bring it 2 different times. How come Rav says that by regular mincha you can't break it up into 2? Obviously, Rav, obviously holds that you cannot break it into half when it comes to Kohen Gadol, and so too, you can't break it in half by a regular mincha. Gufa. Omer Rav. We just said. I'm telling you, it's easy stuff here, not like these complicated svaras or whatever. Cool stuff. Rav says that a mincha becomes kaddish. You put the flour into a vessel, even without oil, it becomes kaddish. We found this by lechem apanim. Even without the frankincense, we just read it. I'm reading it fast. We found this by the sinner's mincha. He doesn't bring levayna, he doesn't bring shemen, and it becomes kaddish. V'shemen levayna kachi hai b'lei hai, b'hai b'lei hai. Shemen ulevayna, the oil, just the oil itself becomes kaddish without levayna, and the levayna becomes kaddish without the oil. Each one becomes kaddish by itself. Shemen shkemetzinu b'loig. Where do you need oil? That it should become. Where do you see that it becomes kaddish by itself? We find it b'loig shemen shel mitzayra. We know that the mitzayra, one of the processes of when it becomes a tar. You take the blood from Nashim, you put on his finger, on his thumb, then you put on toe. So too with oil. Toe, thumb, you put the rest on his head, the whole thing. On his ear. You find that Levayna becomes kaddish by itself on the lechem apanim. Asked Rashi, but over there there's bread. Okay, but the main thing is in the bezichen. Rabbi Chanina Amar Daf Ches Amud Beis Lo Yizug Dash Beluzo V'Lo Yizug Dash Beluzo. No, the only way a mincha becomes kaddish. Listen to this. You need all three ingredients. When you have three ingredients, you need all three ingredients together to become kaddish. You need to pour the oil, the flour, and the levina all into one bucket, into one bowl. Then you can make it kaddish. If you just put the flour by itself, it doesn't become kaddish. Just the oil by itself doesn't become kaddish. Now, well, the Rebbe Chanina Isaroin Lama Nimshach. Why in the world do you need a special vessel called Isarin to be holy? If this vessel of Isarin doesn't create Gedusha for the flour on its own, because you need the oil and you need the levina in order to make a Kaddish, so then why does the Isarin vessel that measures flour, why does it have to have any Gedusha at all? The little guy, the little Isarin guy, has Gedusha. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu came with oil, anointed this Kli. He took a simple Kli and he poured special oil that he had, and he made this vessel Kaddish. That what? Every time you put something in it, it creates Gedusha to that thing. But for what purpose? What flour needs to be Kaddish? Flour by itself cannot have Gedusha, according to Reb Chanina. According to the other shittas we saw, yes, it has Gedusha by itself. But according to Reb Chanina, you need to add the oil, you need to add the levina. Then you can make. You're not adding the levina and the oil into that isarin. The isarin is just one tight measurement of flour. Says Gemara, the simple answer. And we're just going to skip the parentheses. Yeah, there is one mincha for the sinner that has zero oil, zero levina. All it has is flour, and that needs Gedusha. So that's why that Kli has Gedusha. And why does the vessel, that golden vessel that holds, it also measures a lug of shemen? Why does it need Kedusha if, according to Reb Chanina, you have to add the shemen together with the flour? Because there is one case of mitzari that needs oil without anything else, and that needs to be kaddish. So now we have a chiddush from Shmuel that, for whatever reason, it's just interesting how he's very talented, our Shmuel guy in the AI department. He made a whole video on this sugya. So we'll see the sugya and then you'll understand the video. Shmuel says, he also agrees with Rav, this nan, kli alach mikachim salach. When you have a vessel, a measuring cup that's designed for liquids, so any liquid that goes into it becomes kaddish. What liquids do we have in the base of English? We have oil, we have wine, and we have water. So those things become kaddish. And any measuring device that's designed specifically with demarcations, let's say, of dry, because we have liters and ounces and milliliters. We have certain things that are designed for liquid, and we have, what do we have we have pounds, and what else do we have? Grams, certain things that are more for salads, yeah? I think we have the same thing in our days as well, right? We would have different measurements for liquids and for salads. So you would have special measuring devices in the Beis HaMikdash for liquids and special measuring devices for salads. Now the question is, what if you decided to measure solids like flour in a measuring cup that was specifically for liquids? Does it work? Does it give it Gedusha? So he says no. No. If it's designed for liquids, it cannot give any Gedusha to dry goods. And a measuring device for the dry goods cannot give any Gedusha to the liquids. Here comes Shmuel. This is only for liquids. In the Beis HaMikdash, when they received the blood out of the animal's neck, they would take it in a mizrak, which is a cone-shaped device, which was designed that you cannot put it down. Since the bottom is pointy, you can't put it down. If you put it down, it would spill. They didn't want the kohanim to put it down. They didn't want it to rest. They didn't want the blood to congeal. So he says that kli, which is actually a kli, it's a vessel that contains usually blood, which is liquid. Now, if you put some flour in it, it would become kaddish. Brings the pasuk. What do you bring me a raya? But a mincha is actually considered liquid. Why? I don't know how you would view it. What do you view dough? Is dough a liquid or a solid? Most of you say salad. What? No, right. So it could be that in the Beis Hamikdash there's so much oil because they put three oils on the bottom, on the top, and then afterwards they mixed again. So maybe it's more of a liquid, but the Gemara understands it's a liquid. That in fact, in the mincha, even if you're going to mix it up, you don't have great mixing devices. You're mixing it by hand, so you're always going to have like a lump of flour somewhere, that didn't get that liquid in there, and that didn't become. What are you telling me? That the dough is liquid, and if it's liquid, you could put it into a liquid measuring device and it should give it kedusha. But guess what? In every mincha, there's lumps here and there, and they don't have to be very large lumps, very small lumps. 10, how do you say gargir in English? 10 grains of flour. Who said that? You're shtickle Israeli, you, huh? So 10 grains, whatever, a small little lump, but it doesn't have the liquid in it, so that wouldn't give it, so it wouldn't become kaddish because it's in a liquid measuring device. So he says like this. First of all, you cannot view this mincha that has a lot of water in it, it's very liquidy, as liquid because there's parts of it that are not liquid. Second of all, at the end of the day, and this you'll see all the way at the end of the video, blood in a slurping machine. Oh, you have to do the sponsors, he's telling me. See you're able to see behind the scenes. So blood is very liquidy, and dough is not liquidy as blood. So yes, it might be, you could consider it a liquid, but it's not liquid when you compare it to blood. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.